So today we will start joints of forelimb. In the forelimb, you will find following joints: shoulder joint, elbow joint, carpal or knee joint, fetlock joint, western joint, and coffin joint. So we'll discuss one by one. So first, we should start with shoulder joint. So bones involved, you know that shoulder joint is formed by glenoid cavity of the scapula and head of the humerus. So in the diagram you can see, so this one is the glenoid cavity of the scapula and this one is the head of the humerus. So here the joint form is the shoulder joint. Okay. What is the type of the joint? It is ball and socket joint, and the movement is polyaxial or multiaxial. Ligaments. The only ligament here you will find is capsular ligament, okay, which is very capacious and closes the entire joint. So you can see that this whole one is your capsular ligament. It is the only ligament found in the shoulder joint, capsular ligament. It is very important. Then from the tuber scapulae to diverging elastic bands extend anteriorly up to the tuberosities of the humerus, providing additional support to the capsular ligament. So you can see that. So this one is the tuber scapulae. So from this what happened? Two diverging bands of diverging elastic band they arises. Okay, up to the tuberosities of the humerus. Okay, and they provide support to this capsular ligament. So these are two elastic bands. Next we will discuss elbow joint. So elbow joint is a composite joint. It consists of two parts: radio-ulnar articulation and humeroradial articulation. You can see this. This one is the humeroradial articulation, means this one. Okay, so this one, because this is the distal end of the humerus, this is the proximal end of the radius. So here, so in this area, the joint is humeroradial articulation, and this is radius, this is ulnar. So here the joint, you can see the joint is radio-ulnar articulation. So first we will discuss about radio-ulnar articulation. So the joint is amphiarthrosis, means cartilaginous in young animal. It becomes synarthrosis, means fibrous joint in the adult. So what are the bones involved here? So this articulation is formed by posterolateral aspect of the septum of the radius. So you can see that this one. So this one, this surface is the posterolateral aspect of the septum of the radius, and this surface is the anterior surface of the body of the ulna. Okay. So this joint. So this joint is your radio-ulnar articulation. Movement very restricted in young calves. It becomes immovable in adults. Ligaments. Here we will find various types of ligaments. First is the capsular ligament, encloses the joint above the proximal interosseous space. Okay, you can see that. So this one is the proximal interosseous space. So just above this, so here you will find the ligament. Okay, this is the capsular ligament. This part of the joint does not ossify even in the adult life. Then you will find interosseous ligaments composed of white connective tissue fibers between the opposed surfaces of the corresponding bones. So you can see that. So these two are the opposed surface of the corresponding bone, and in between them you will find interosseous ligament. Then archiform ligaments you will find. They are lateral and medial in position. They are arch-shaped ligament. Arch means like this. Okay, so they are arch-shaped ligaments. So here you can see that. So this one is the archiform ligaments. Okay, archiform ligaments that connect the corresponding aspects of the proximal ends of the radius and ulna, and they are lateral and medial in position. Then we'll discuss humeroradial articulation, also called humeroradio-ulnar joint. So it is a type of hinge joint. Okay, humeroradial articulation means between this joint. Okay, the type of the joint is hinge. The movement you will find extension and flexor. So what are the bone involved here to form the joint? Okay, so the joint is formed by condyles of the humerus here articulate with the proximal end of the radius. So you can see that. So this one is the condyle of the. So this one is the condyle of the humerus. Okay, and this one is the proximal end of the radius. Okay, so the joint is formed. And what happened here? The anconeus process and the semilunar notch of the proximal end of the ulna also contribute to this joint. So here you can see that in this part. Okay, so in this part you will find the anconeus process of the ulna and semilunar notch of the ulna. So they also help in the formation of this joint. So that's why it is also called sometimes humero-radio-ulnar joint. Okay, what are the ligaments here you will find? So first ligament here you will find this one. You can see the capsular ligament here you will find. You will also find lateral and the medial collateral ligament. So first this one is the lateral collateral ligament. It extends from a depression on the lateral condyle of the humerus to the tuberosity on the lateral aspect of the upper end of the radius. So you can see that. So this ligament. Okay, so this ligament is your lateral collateral ligament. Okay, so this is the condyle here. So this is the condyle. So from the condyle, okay, so just so here you will find a depression. So from this it arises up to this point. This is the lateral collateral ligament. You will also find medial collateral ligament. Okay, proximally it attaches to the tubercle located on the medial condyle of the humerus. So this one is the medial condyle of the humerus. Okay, so here you will find a tubercle. Here you will find a tubercle. So to this tubercle, this ligament is attached. Okay, now you see. So this medial collateral ligament is composed of two distinct parts. One is superficial part and one is the deep part. Okay, so first you see the deep part. So deep part is present below the superficial part. We can see in this picture. Okay, the deep part injures on the medial tuberosity of the radius. So here the deep part will injure this one, and just above it present superficial part. It passes slightly downward beyond the medial tuberosity and attaches just below this. So this one. So this is the medial tuberosity. So this will pass. It will move beyond the medial tuberosity, and somewhat here it will join. So this is the superficial ligament, superficial medial collateral ligament. This is the deep medial collateral ligament. Then we'll discuss about carpal joint or knee joint. Okay, so it is a composite joint formed by the articulation of following structures. So it is formed by the distal extremities of the radius and ulna, carpal bones which are arranged in two distinct rows, and the proximal end of the metacarpal bones. So here you can see that. So this part, okay, so this part is the distal extremities of the radius and ulna. Okay, and this part you can see this part. Okay, so this is the carpal bones. They are in the two rows. Okay, proximal rows and the distal rows, and you can see here. So this here is the proximal ends of the metacarpal bones. Clear? So this entire structure is the your knee joint or carpal joint. So type. So it is a hinge joint. Movement, you will find a limited gliding movement at the carpo-metacarpal articulation. Okay, carpo-metacarpal articulation means these are the carpals and this is the metacarpals. Okay, so here you will find a limited gliding movement, but flexion extension occur at the radiocarpal and middle carpal joint. Okay, so here in this part, okay, and the middle carpal bones, the movement is flexion and extension. Okay, the carpal joint is supported by two categories of ligaments. Okay, one category of the ligament is the common ligament, okay, which stabilize the entire joint complex. The second category is the special type of ligaments, which connect specific individual bones within the joint. Okay. So first, the common category is the capsular ligament. Okay. The loose fibrous capsule that encloses the entire carpal joint. You can see that. So this entire, okay, the whole joint, okay, the whole joint here, okay, the whole joint is covered by this capsular ligament. Okay. Its anterior part is called dorsal carpal ligament. This part, the part which you are looking is the called dorsal carpal ligament, and behind this, the posterior part just behind this is called volar or palmar carpal ligaments. So the part which you are looking in this screen, so this one is the dorsal carpal ligament, and the behind part is called your volar or palmar carpal ligament. Then you will find medial, in the common category you will find medial ligament. Okay, you can see this is the medial ligament, extends from the medial tuberosity of the distal radius. Okay, so here, so medial tuberosity of the distal part of the radius, it extends. Okay, and then up to what? Up to the metacarpal bone, up to the proximal end of the metacarpal bone. This whole ligament, you can see here, this is the medial ligament. Okay, so along its course, okay, it sends short fasciculi to attach the radial carpal and the fused second and third carpal. You can see, so they have the small fasciculi, okay, to stabilize the bones. Then under the common ligament category, the third is the lateral ligament. So again, you say this is the lateral ligament. Okay, it arises from the lateral tuberosity of the distal radius and the styloid process of the ulna. So here you can see, so this arises from the, so here the ligament arises, okay, from the lateral tuberosity of the distal and the radius and the styloid process of ulna, okay, and extends here. You can see after that it will extends here, the ligament extends here, okay, extends here up to the proximal end of the large and the small metacarpal bones. It also gives rise to the small fasciculi to provide additional support to the ulnar carpal, okay, and the fourth carpal bone respectively. So now we'll discuss the special type of ligaments which are found in the knee or carpal joint. Okay, at various location they are, at various junction point they are actually found. Okay, first where they are found, radio ulnar carpal joint. Okay, so this is the posterior view of the this is the anterior, this picture is the anterior view of the knee joint, and this is the posterior view of the knee joint, back side. Okay, so at the radio ulnar carpal joint, okay, stabilized by 2 anterior and 3 posterior ligaments. So here you can see that, so these 2 are the anterior ligaments on the anterior side, and these 3 are the, okay, posterior ligaments. Okay, so they are found at radioulnar carpal joint. Then we will find special type of ligaments at proximal row of the carpal bones. Okay, so they are united by 3 anterior. Okay, you can see 1, 2 and 3. So 3 anterior and 2 posterior. So these 2 are the posterior, and 3 interosseous ligaments. So these are the interosseous. So these 3. Okay, so these 3 are the interosseous ligament. Okay, and these 2 are the posterior ligaments, and you can see these 3 are the anterior ligaments. So they are found at proximal row of the carpal bones. Then special ligaments are also found at intercarpal joint. They are supported by 2 anterior and 3 posterior ligaments. You can see these are the 2 anterior ligaments, and these are the 3 posterior ligaments. Then you will also find special ligaments at the distal row of carpal bones. They are united by 1 anterior, okay, means this one, this green color for demarcation, okay, so 1 anterior and 1 interosseous ligament. So this red color is the interosseous ligament. Then you will also find special ligament at carpo-metacarpal joint. Okay, so here it is supported by two posterior and two interosseous ligaments. Okay, so these two are the posterior and these two are the two interosseous ligaments.